Hello dear viewers, my name is Fardin Nouri and I'm an immigration consultant in Germany. As you know, in my previous videos I've explained for you the requirements for a German permanent residence permit with different types of residence permits in Germany. Today I would like to explain for you what an EU permanent residence permit or European Union permanent residence permit is, what its requirements are, and how you can get this type of a residence permit in Germany. The EU permanent residence permit, which in German means Erlaubnis zum Daueraufenthalt-EU, is a permanent residence permit which has similar requirements and rights to a German permanent residence permit. However, compared to a German permanent residence permit, you can only get an EU permanent residence permit after a legal residence of 5 years. It's worth mentioning that with an EU permanent residence permit, you can migrate to the other EU member states except to Ireland and to Denmark and get a residence permit in these countries under certain conditions. An EU permanent residence permit issued in Germany entitles you to work, study, or do a training in other EU member states. Some member states, however, do an assessment of the labor market before allowing you to work there. You can get the information about the specific rules and regulations of the EU country concerning your residence in that country from their relevant authorities. If you live with this type of a permanent residence permit issued for you in Germany in another EU member state for 5 years, you can also apply for an EU permanent residence permit there and get it. In this case, the EU permanent residence permit which has been issued for you in Germany will be revoked and it will be automatically deleted from the German record after 6 years at the latest. If you live in Ireland or Denmark or in another country out of EU member states, you will lose your EU permanent residence permit after 12 months. And if you have received your EU permanent residence permit through a European Union blue card, or you are a family member of European Union blue card holder, you will lose your EU permanent residence permit after living for 24 months in Ireland, Denmark, or another country out of European Union member states. It's worth mentioning that with the German permanent residence permit, you can only stay in a European Union member state for 90 days, and you cannot live or work there. And if you live more than 6 months out of Germany with this type of a residence permit, you will lose it. And if you are a blue card holder and based on it you have received your German permanent residence permit, you will lose it in case of being out of Germany for 12 months. Of course, you can also come and get a residence permit in Germany in order to work, study, or do a vocational training in Germany if you have a European Union permanent residence permit from another European Union member state. And after living in Germany for 5 years, you can then also apply for a European Union permanent residence permit in Germany and get it. However, in such a case, you will lose your European Union permanent residence permit which you have received from the other European Union member state. Now we should know what the requirements for a European Union permanent residence permit in Germany are. First, you must have lived at least for 5 years with a residence permit in Germany. And you must also currently have a valid residence permit. If you are entitled to asylum or refugee protection or have got a subsidiary protection in Germany, the duration of your asylum procedure is also included. It's worth mentioning that with certain types of residence permits, for example, with the residence permit which you have got based on humanitarian reasons or for the purpose of study or a vocational training in Germany, it's not possible to get a European Union permanent residence permit in Germany. With the residence permit, for example, which has been issued for you based on your entitlement to a national ban on deportation, you cannot apply for a European Union permanent residence permit in Germany. Second, your living expenses and the living expenses of your family members must be insured through your regular and stable income. This means that you should not receive any money from job center or from social welfare office. It's worth mentioning that the proof of sufficient income for your living expenses can also be provided by your spouse or your same-sex partner. Third, you must have sufficient knowledge of German language, which means B1 level, and provide the relevant evidence for it. Fourth, you must have passed the test for orientation course or the German citizenship test successfully and have a certificate for it. Fifth, you must have sufficient accommodation for yourself and all your family members living with you. The size of the apartment currently required by the Foreigners Office or Ausländerbehörde varies from one federal state to the other. However, generally speaking, if you have 12 square meters for each adult and 10 square meters for each child under 6 years old in the family, that should be enough. For more information, you can ask the staff of your relevant Foreigners Office or Ausländerbehörde or refer to a migration counseling office in your city or region. Sixth, you must have paid the compulsory or voluntary contributions to statutory pension insurance, which in German means gesetzliche Rentenversicherung, for at least 60 months. Seventh, you must have health insurance. And eighth, you must not have a criminal record. If you have completed these requirements, you can refer to your relevant Foreigners Office, which in German means Ausländerbehörde, and apply for a European Union permanent residence permit. This office will ask you for some documents so that they can process your application for this type of a residence permit. The documents they usually ask for are, for example, the application form, which you should fill in for them, your valid passport, your one current biometric photo, proof of your income, your apartment rental contract, or proof of ownership of your apartment, proof for your health insurance, your registration certificate or your Meldebescheinigung, and a written confirmation of occupancy from your landlord. It's worth mentioning that the current fees for issuing a European Union permanent residence permit is 109 euros. Thanks a lot for watching my video. If you have any questions concerning the details presented in this video, please do not hesitate to post them below this video and I will be more than happy to answer them for you.